Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my romantasy or fantasy romance TBR with you. It's my TBR for August, but it is mostly romantasy reads. There are a couple at the end that maybe don't 100% fit into the category, but this is an overwhelmingly romantasy TBR, and I'm really excited to be sharing it. There have been so many romantasy books lately that have been appealing to me, and I recently finished reading The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I just loved it, and I'm so excited to dive further into this genre and to discover a ton of new authors, a ton of self-published authors. A lot of them are getting picked up by traditional publishers, which is really exciting, and I'm just like really enjoying this genre. And actually, before I get into it, I'm also just going to talk about like what I think is my new kind of direction for my channel. Not really new, like I'm still gonna be talking about books, but I recently participated in Summerween and I really liked it, and I think that I kind of want to do themed vlog challenges for myself going forward, and then that will allow me to review books like in the moment as I'm reading them, which will be great. I'm also going to be able to kind of fit vlogging, or kind of fit booktube rather, into my like day-to-day life more seamlessly, instead of having to find time to like not be out and about and to be like sitting here to film, even though I will do traditional videos still as well, but I do want to do more vlogs. So some of these will be in an upcoming vlog, and I also have a theme planned for September that I'm really excited about. But anyway, on to the romantasy. So first on my list is Six Scorched Roses, which is a novella that takes place between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. These are the next two books in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This series follows a human girl named Aurea, and when Aurea was a child, she was adopted by the Nightborn vampire king. In the first book, Aurea enters a legendary competition called the Kajari, and this competition is held by Nyaxia, who is the goddess of vampires. Aurea allies with Rain, who is a very dangerous vampire from a different house, and her father is extremely unhappy about this alliance. I obviously don't want to give anything else away, so just trust me when I tell you that this series is so good. The first book is actually a contender for one of my favorite books of the year, so I'm really excited to continue reading these. And the novella that takes place in between is, I believe, like a standalone kind of short story. I don't know if you necessarily have to read it to read the second book, but I love this world so much that I definitely want to. I will report back if that's not the case. And also, there are going to be 6 books total in this series. There are 2 books that are currently out. The series is going to consist of 3 duologies, so either different storylines, or we'll be following different characters. So the first one actually wraps up with this book. The series also actually just got picked up by Bramble, which is Tor's new fantasy romance imprint, which is really exciting for Carissa Broadbent. I'm so excited to read more of her books. She actually has another series that looks fantastic too. And they also just released the cover of the first book. They didn't change it very much, which I'm really glad about, except that this isn't the first book, but on the first book, the snake is now green. It's like pretty much the same thing, which is great. And I'm also really hoping that we'll get special editions for these, because these books are just so excellent. Next up, I have Forged by Magic by Jenna Wolfhart. I saw this cover on Instagram and I was just immediately drawn to it. It actually kind of reminds me of the cover of Legends and Lattes, and I think that that is like really what pulled me in. This is a standalone fantasy romance novel that is set in the Falling for Fables series. I believe there are going to be 2 books, and this is the first of the 2. I think that you can actually read this one on Kindle Unlimited also, and same with actually the first 2 books that I talked about. Those are also on Kindle Unlimited. This one follows a half-orc named Diella who is stuck in a tower and she's yearning for escape. Then the Emperor unexpectedly offers her a deal for her freedom. Diella must journey to the mysterious Isle of Fable, and she has to track down wielders of outlawed dragon magic. On the way to the island, a brutal storm forces her ship off course, and she ends up meeting and running into a handsome elven blacksmith. Those are our main characters on the cover, and it just looks so good. I can't wait to read this one. I think this might be one of my next reads once I finish the arc that I'm currently reading. Next on my TBR, and also on Kindle Unlimited, is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is the Fairy Loot edition that I'm like just completely obsessed with. I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney short Paperman, but the whole aesthetic of this just like screams Paperman to me. So when I saw this book, I was like, oh my God, I need it. I literally canceled my Fairy Loot young adult subscription right before this book came out, which was a huge mistake because I ended up buying this one secondhand for way more than I would have wanted. I could have just gotten it with my subscription. So I'm thinking about actually like re-signing up for that, but this one is just like probably one of the most beautiful editions that I've ever seen. I'm going to show you underneath the cover too, because why not? I love it. And the end papers just remind me of like a gorgeous aesthetic reading journal. So this is the first book in the Letters of Enchantment duology, and really exciting, but Wednesday Books just announced on Threads the other day, the second book, Ruthless Vows, is actually coming way sooner. It was supposed to come out in April of next year, but it's now going to be published on December 26th of this year. So if you want to jump on this series, you won't have to wait much longer for the sequel, which is always a plus. This one follows two young rival journalists. The two of them find love through a divine magical connection, and they must face the depths of hell in a war among gods in order to seal their fates forever. So pretty high stakes. This one's been listed as so many people's favorite book of the year so far, or like within their list of favorites, so I'm really excited to be picking this one up soon. I'm gonna read this during my birthday week. Next on my list is A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. This one is actually also on Kindle Unlimited, and I have never read any Karina Halley books before, so I'm hoping that I like this one, and if I do, then I might dive into some more of the things that she's published. And I thought this was a good place to start because it's involving pirates, and it's also a Little Mermaid retelling. So we are following Princess Marin. She sold her soul to the sea witch Adonia in order to secure the love of Prince Eric on land. But after a decade of abuse endured by this cruel prince that she was not expecting, Marin wants nothing more than to leave him behind and venture down to find Adonia again and get her soul back, effectively reversing the spell. So while Marin is traveling overseas, she actually ends up getting captured by pirates, and then she finds herself falling for the notorious Captain Ramsay. So I'm pretty excited to read this one. Next up, I'm so excited to say that I finally secured a copy of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and I have the first printing. I'm really thrilled about this. This is probably like the hardest book to find, and it was not easy for me either. I like obsessively was looking at websites to find a copy that was reasonably priced, because I saw one on eBay for $750, which is just no. That's like unacceptable. This one seems to be pretty divisive, but I do think that I'm going to end up loving it based on what I've heard from other reviewers. I don't feel like it needs any introduction. It is literally everywhere online and nowhere in bookstores, but is the first book in the Empyrean series, and it takes place in the brutal and elite world of a war college for dragon riders. To be honest, I haven't looked into the synopsis too much more than that. I really don't want to know too much going into it. I know that everyone's like obsessed with the love interest, but I do want to go into this as blind as possible, and I'm really just looking to have a good time with it. I am also going to be reading this one during my birthday week, and I think that that is going to be potentially one of my next reading vlogs. Will be reading Divine Rivals and Fourth Wing. Then I have The Moonfire Bride by Sylvia Mercedes. This I think is also on Kindle Unlimited, so that's a theme going here. This is the first book in the Of Candlelight and Shadows duology, and it is a fae romance that is inspired by Hades and Persephone and Psyche and Eros. It follows Valera, who is a seamstress that is struggling to make ends meet and to take care of her younger sister. She has always been worried that the fae would come from their forest and spirit her sister away, but when they do show up, they end up taking her instead. And then Valera quickly finds herself as the unwilling bride of an enigmatic fae lord. He claims that he won't hurt her, and he vows to take her home after 1 year and 1 day, but he has one very strange stipulation, and it's that she is not allowed to see his face. This one was actually also recently picked up by Illumicrate's publishing imprint, Daphne Press, and I'm very curious if it will get a special edition from them in the future, so I want to read it beforehand to find out if I will need to purchase a copy. Then I don't have a physical copy of this one, but I also really want to read Guild by Raven Kennedy, which is the first book in the Plated Prisoner series. This is another fairy romance. There are currently 4 books in the series, and the 5th and final book should be publishing soon, so I want to read it, get caught up, and then read the final book and finish out the series. I have heard that the first book is not the best, and it's a lot of setup for what goes on in the rest of the series, so I am going in knowing that and not like expecting too much out of this one, but hoping that it will still be a good time. And I do intend to continue no matter what my feelings are toward the first one. So this one follows a girl that was gold touched by King Midas, and now he forces her to reside within his palace in order to keep her safe. But when a war comes to the kingdom and a deal is struck, she realizes that the bars that she's kept in, no matter how gilded, are still a cage. Next on my list is an ARC. So I just got an ARC of Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry, which is the prequel novella to Legends and Lattes, and I am so highly anticipating this one. It's probably like my most anticipated book for the rest of the year. So this one takes place before Legends and Lattes, and we are following Viv, the orc barbarian that we have grown to know and love. In this one, she is a young and battle-hungry orc barbarian, and she injures herself while hunting for a powerful necromancer, and then she is forced against her will to reside in the cute little coastal town of Merk in order to recover. While she's there, she ends up spending most of her time in a bookshop, and I believe it plants the seeds for the future and helps Viv see that like there are other options, and that's where she gets the idea for her coffee shop. Next on my list is Thornhenge by T. Kingfisher. I'm really excited for this one. It's a new fantasy novella from T. Kingfisher, and the Broken Binding actually had like a surprise private sale for this one, which I was so excited about. I got an email about it, I'm guessing because I bought their edition of A House with Good Bones, so I obviously immediately ordered this one too. I think the UK cover is so much better than the US cover, and theirs has sprayed purple pages, which are really pretty. They're like lilac, like light purple. This one is the tale of a kind-hearted, toad-shaped heroine, a gentle knight, and a mission gone completely sideways. And I feel like this is another one where I don't want to know too much, especially since it's a novella, and I feel like T. Kingfisher will just knock it out of the park again. And then last on my list, I have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. This one is a modern day retelling of Romeo and Juliet. It's set in New York City, and it follows two rival magical families who are vying to maintain control of their respective criminal ventures. So on one side of the battle are the Antonova sisters and their mother, who are selling premium intoxicants known as Baba Yaga. And then on the other side, we have the Fedorov brothers and their father Kosheki the Deathless, and their extortion ventures dominate the shadows of magical Manhattan. After 12 years of a tenuous coexistence, a change in one family's interests causes a rift in their existing stalemate. My friend Alexa from Alexa Loves Books adored this one, so I've been really looking forward to reading it, just reading more Olivia Blake in general, because I really want to catch up on everything of hers that has been published. I really like her writing. I think it's just beautiful, and this book is quite beautiful too, so kind of want to read this as a physical copy. And that's it. That's actually pretty ambitious, but that is my August TBR. I'm really looking forward to reading all of these books. They all sound so good, and I can't wait to talk about them more and tell you how I feel about them. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you'll enjoy future vlogs where I'm talking about these. But that's all that I have for this one, so I will see you soon in a new video. Bye!